language is inappropriate right there. Like,
well, I disagree. You can use your language, and I can use my language. Did Muslims burn and destroy synagogues and churches in Jerusalem in about 600 to 700 AD?
Did the Crusades occur? Did the KKK terrorize African Americans in the United States?
Yes.
Did child molestation occur in churches?
Yes.
I think framing those questions to Muslims as a way of having us apologize for things that we're not responsible for is extremely irresponsible, because then it connotates Islam with violence, and that's not acceptable, because then that can lead to hate crimes against Muslims. So I'm just trying to straighten out these questions.
Fine.
Because
but I was asked the question about the Crusades and about what motivated them. And so I was saying the Crusades are tragic, that they happened, and part of what motivated them was the Pope wanted to get back Jerusalem, which had been sacked by Muslims. All I...
Here's the thing. Both religions have a violent history. I don't even understand why the two of them are arguing over this point, because they're just picking and choosing at what framework of time frame that they want to start with. But both religions have an incredibly violent history. And as a matter of fact, almost every religion has an incredibly violent history. So when we look at what the two of them were saying, just because, I like old Cliffy. Cliffy is answering the question of why the Crusades happened, and he says that they were regrettable. Of course, hindsight is always 2020, but I would imagine that if old Cliffy was hanging around with Pope Leo or Pope Sextus or one of them other popes during the Crusades, that he would have been like, yes, we must take the Holy Land. It is our Christendom must take the Holy Land. And I'm sure if that young lady was back in the time frame of the Ottoman Empire, she would have been like, yes, we must take the Holy Land. Yes, we must take the Holy Land. Can't do that voice right now. Sinuses. But the reality is that they're looking at it from today's perspective, when each one of those religions are violence reacting to violence, conquering reacting to conquering. So sure, you can look at the Crusades, and you can look at the Ottoman Empire and the battle that they've had over the Levant. But if you really wanted to look at it, it's not really about the religion, so to speak, as much as it is about the Levant. As far as the Mediterranean world, it's the gateway to the East. It's the gateway to financial gain in the East. So of course, when the Arab nation came about, one of the primary places that they had to conquer would have been the Levant. So yeah, they conquered it. They made it Islamic. They burnt down churches. And then when the Christendom took it back, European Christendom took it back, they burnt down mosques. They tore down mosques. And vice versa. Each time they fluctuated back and forth, back and forth. But if you want to go back to the beginning, an earlier time frame, right before the Muslims came in and took Jerusalem, how about when the Romans were in control of Jerusalem for about almost 500 years? And on almost every spot where Christendom right now has churches, those were dedicated to Roman gods. So when Constantine's mother, Helena, came in and took over temples dedicated to Aphrodite, and she built her own Christian temples on top of it. When Christendom went in and took people's homes and took people's worship places that were Roman dedicated to the Roman gods, is that not an act of violence on the Christian part to take away from the people who were already worshiping there? And are the Romans wrong for taking the spots that the Greeks had put in place, that the Israelites had put in place, and destroying their stuff, destroying their temples, the temples of the Greeks? Weren't they wrong for doing that or renaming them? Or what about the Babylonians when they came in and destroyed the second temple, when they conquered and put their own religion in there? Or what about when the Assyrians came and laid siege and destroyed all the synagogues except for the ones in Jerusalem? Or what about during the Bronze Age collapse, when the Canaanites had their temples in Jerusalem, in Jebu, that the Israelites came in and destroyed their temples and took over their temples from what the Canaanites had already had in place. Or when those Canaanites had their temples in place, and then the Egyptians came in and destroyed and took, and well, those Canaanites destroyed the Egyptians' spaces. So the Israelites destroyed the Canaanites' temples. The Canaanites then destroyed the Egyptian temples. The Egyptians, reigning in that area for about 3,000 years, destroyed the Akkadian and Sumerian temples. I mean, how far back are we going to go on this land that's been fought over for thousands and thousands and thousands of years? And each conquering nation destroys the temples of the previous nation, destroys the sacred places of the previous group that they just conquered. You can keep going back. But what does it all mean? It means that people who have adopted these religions will find a way to destroy one another, to fight one another, trying to prove that I'm right. My sky daddy is the right sky daddy. My sky daddy says I go to heaven. My sky daddy says you go to hell. Well, my sky daddy says you go to hell, and my sky daddy says I go to heaven. All of them got their sky daddy or water daddy or volcano daddy or storm daddy. All of them got these daddies, and sometimes they have a mama and a sister and a cousin. But they all got these gods that they cannot prove. And they fight. They fighting. Fighting over who's right. Trying to convince someone else that they're wrong. And this is why on my lives and other videos, I say I don't understand why Christians come to my channel. My videos aren't for you. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. It's for people who have decided to walk away from your religion. But these people seem to mean that they got to come and force you to be a part of their religion. You got to believe what they believe. We are right to conquer and kill and murder and destroy, until you look at it from a future stance and you're looking at the past, or present stance and you're looking at the past and you say, oh, well, that was wrong. But you benefit from it. You still benefiting from it. We know another system that works the same way, where you benefit from the atrocities of the past, of your ancestors, but you sure hell ain't giving up those benefits. So if the Crusades were wrong, if going in and taking people's stuff was wrong, why won't the Vatican then return all the things that they have in their archives that belong to other countries and other peoples? Why won't all these museums return the artifacts that they've stolen from all these other countries and people? Oh, the hiding of knowledge and the almighty dollar, because we know these museums wouldn't be worth seeing if they only had their stuff in it. So this argument that people have about who's violent, the Muslims, the Christians, you're both violent. You both have a history of violence. You both are still violent. If you look at the video I just published about the bus running over the Muslim bus driver running over the Christians in Nigeria, it shows that this violence is still relevant today. And I just saw another video, I didn't post it, about the Proud Boys versus the Patriot Boys or somebody, and their violence, all claiming to be Christian. Christian on Christian white nationalist violence. So white nationalists versus the Proud Boys, calling each other racist. Hilarious. Humans on a lower vibration will always find a way to be violent. They will always find a way to be violent. And religion is like the super drug. It's the crack cocaine for this mentality of low vibrational violence. And until you raise your mentality, you will always be stuck. So remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.